Hello, I'm Lois Carrier. I'm a fee-only certified financial planner from Worthwhile Wealth Counsel, and I have two of my best friends and working partners here with me today.
I'm David Maurice, fee-only certified financial planner with Worthwhile Wealth Counsel.
And I'm Andrew Worley, Associate Advisor at Worthwhile Wealth Counsel.
And soon to be
an AIF, which is
An Accredited Investment Fiduciary.
So
Yes.
we understand you've passed your exams, you are administratively pending
Yes.
and are about to be an accredited investment fiduciary.
Does that mean he's in limbo?
Yeah, pending.
Pending.
I like pending better than
The
limbo.
big P, went pending, he is pending. And I have the designation of the Accredited Investment Fiduciary, and we got these accreditations because of our increased amount of work dealing with company 401ks and pension plans, and what's been happened historically.
Well, the primary reason for the fiduciary standard that it survived and served society so well is that it's principles-based. Loyalty, due care, prudence, diligence, good faith as fiduciary duties that stood the test of time. So those have continued from, as we said, historically, those are still values that are valid today.
Right, and it's very important, especially with investments in the field we work in, David. We've seen so many people harmed by non-fiduciary advisors, and this is going to be a good thing. So I wanted David here today because I want to talk about the history of, I've mentioned that as a firm we are working with companies putting in 401k plans, and we have never been that interested in that. I had several 401k plans in previous jobs, and I never understood anything about the investments. I never felt like I got any care, and so this word fiduciary has been really out there in the public's eye, and is becoming even more known. And so if you're a business owner, or you have, if you're an employee of a business, and you begin to recognize some things as we're talking about them today, and you're thinking, wait a minute, that sounds like my company. Listen closely, because this may be the answer to your question.
Yeah.
So how did all the fiduciary stuff first come up?
Well, it's interesting. You talk about that there's been harm, there's been destruction. Most of that really you can trace to confusion on the part of the end user. In this case, we're talking about participants or consumers. And we're talking in particular about pension, 401k plans. All of this comes under something that really is fairly new in every new industry, every new kind of system that you have in society that's pervasive has to evolve. If I'm a business owner, I have no idea how to operate a 401k plan.
Right.
I have no idea how to be compliant with the tax reporting rules and just all of the minutia that goes into that. So there were parts of this that business owners had to rely on as fiduciaries, like the bank or the third-party administrator that's doing the reporting and collecting the monies and all those different pieces there. But the one piece that most people may have been confused about is that the product providers, the banks, the insurance companies, and the brokerages themselves did not have a fiduciary responsibility to the plan with regard to investing. Now, they may have had some duties if they were doing some of the administration, which would come under what we've been talking about here historically. But the confusion has created a gap that because 401ks have become far more predominant because the whole contribution plan for pensions has evolved so much and become so much more complex. So the reason is going back to about 2009 and 10. The Labor Department decided that the people who were providing the investment products, the vehicles for investing, either had to become fiduciaries in their capacity, or they had to pull back and say they had nothing to do with investment advice. And before, there was just kind of this wall, which is why you and other people in different companies were in the gym. If it was a school, maybe the teachers come into the gym once a year, and the guy from the company, the brokerage, the bank, or the insurance company, would come in and would educate, quote unquote, about the plan, but they could not give any instructive advice. They couldn't even talk about anything that you could actually implement based on what they were saying, because then they would have crossed over that wall and become fiduciaries by function. So none of those entities, the banks and the brokerage and the insurance companies, would breach that. And that's why so many people have these 401ks that don't know what they can do. And the rule came in to bridge that and say, okay, we're going to have fiduciaries in there.
That's a very good historical event. Andrew, I think with your previous job, you had the same thing. You had a 403B probably, and the person would come to help you with investments, but they would never tell you anything about the investments.
Yeah, that's been in my experience for a couple jobs where you get into this, and usually your first day doing paperwork, you sign up for something, but no one can give you advice on what to sign up for. They just tell you have to make a selection. And so usually,
good luck.
Yeah, good luck. You pick the default, or you may spread your decision over all the available options that are there. But you really get no guidance. You're really on your own to make that decision.
I always said it was like pinning a tail on a donkey. Put a blindfold on and just stick your pin on which
Do
mutual
they play
fund you're
that
going
game
to.
anymore?
I don't know. They can look it up if they haven't heard pin the tail on a donkey. So I had the exact same experience, and I was a teacher that got taken to the gym, and you're all waiting to find out what you're supposed to invest in, and the guy leaves, and you're sitting there like, so what?
Did you understand that?
I didn't understand that.
Because they would use jargon that had to
Right.
do with what would be compliance
Yeah,
approved,
yeah.
education,
Right,
but would
right.
never be anything that you could act on, because then you could hold the person responsible
Right.
as a fiduciary, even though they didn't have
Exactly.
that duty.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I find it interesting, Andrew, we've learned this in our AIF work, and that is that the reason this is changing so much, even though the rule did not get passed the way it was intended to be passed, the reason is that ERISA and the government's putting a lot of pressure on companies now because people are retiring and
they
their
don't have
main
enough.
income is Social Security. That's not going to last. It's not going to be there for kids and grandkids. So they're going to start demanding it. Andrew, didn't we learn that there's at least 1 or 2 states that has mandated that state has to provide 401k plans?
Yeah, there's several now, and it's probably a trend we'll see that where the state requires companies to put in that 401k because the reliability of Social Security is in question. The further out we look, someone who's just starting their career now, the forecast is not good for them when they look at Social Security. So yes, some states already have required it, and I would suspect more will.
And so even if you argue that Social Security might be around, it's very difficult to argue that it will provide nearly as much for future beneficiaries than what it has been in the past. It's not going to be the safety net that it had been.
Well, just look at the cost of long-term care now. People who even retire with a lot of money, and we've done this forever, we've noticed that long-term care can easily eat away one of the best portfolios or savings that you can have. So guys, I wanted to thank you for helping me do this today. And the main thing I wanted to talk about is that if you are an employee of a company and your 401k is sponsored by a insurance company, a
bank,
or a
Broker.
you may want to question.
You may want to question that and bring this video up to the owner, because one of the things that they don't know as an owner of a company, if I've got one of those entities providing the 401k plan,
there's nothing wrong with
there's
that. You're
nothing
just
wrong
not
with that.
getting any
But
fiduciary.
the person who's working for that company, he cannot be a fiduciary, he or she, and work with your employees. So in lieu of not having an investment advisor fiduciary, guess what? The owner is responsible. So if my employees make a bad decision with their investments, it's not going to be the bank, insurance company, or brokerage that's going to be sued. It's going to be
the owner.
The owner. And that's really something that owners need to be aware of. So hopefully this has been helpful and enlightening. It's all about 401ks and you getting in there and getting active in your 401k, getting invested. We love teaching investments. We love teaching anything.
And getting good advice.
And giving good advice. So those 401ks, open them up, get in there. If you don't know what you're doing, you can give us a call, or we'll be glad to come in and talk to your company. We have partnered up with a totally independent provider of 401ks. They do all the record keeping and all of that. They are fiduciaries, and they have partnered with fiduciaries across the country.
Fiduciary
to
investment
come in
advisors.
a team of 2 fiduciary sides.
They administer the plan, and
that's right.
we do the
They
investments.
do all the stuff, and we do the investing. Okay, guys, I think we've done a good job.
Been a
We
lot of
hope.
fun.
It has been
Thanks
fun.
for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.